Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome, everyone, to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking Week 2 waiver wire. It's always, you have a bad Week 1, you go look for that waiver wire, find out what's going to work, what's not going to work. This week, there's a couple interesting names on there that maybe can help your team going forward. Maybe there's a league winner here even. I don't know. There could be. So we're just going to jump into this thing, throw out some names for you that you need to go pick up because, especially if you're hurting like me and have like Javonte Williams as your number 2 and you don't feel comfortable with that, you might need to go find somebody. All right. I would say top waiver wire pickup. I think you're in agreement with this possibly. Elijah Mitchell, the way he played, right? It has to be Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah.
We talked about this in the recap show. The 49ers, we don't really know how honest they're being about the Trey Sermon situation and what really happened. But what Shanahan said was Trey Sermon was beaten out by Elijah Mitchell and JaMychal Hasty. And if that's the case, and Raheem Mostert's knee is something that he's not going to be playing with next week, Elijah Mitchell is absolute must-own running back right now. Because I don't care who the starting running back is in this 49ers team. I think I've said this 1,000 times now. That guy is going to be good. It's been a bunch of different guys, and they're always good. Elijah Mitchell looked good. Some of that might be playing against the Lions. They weren't they're not a good defense, but he played well. And if he's the guy, you have to go pick him up. You absolutely have to go pick him up if you need a running back. Maybe we'll get some more information before you actually have to put that in. Like, is Mostert not hurt that badly? Can he play next week? That can change things. Either way, if Mostert plays next week, if you even think Sermon's going to play, Elijah Mitchell still needs to be an ad. He needs to be rostered just for the possibility that he's the guy at some point. And he very well might be the guy in week 2. So, that's pretty much it.
That one's pretty straightforward. I mean, you have to take the shot.
You just have
to. Here's the question. It's so early in the year. This could be a huge pickup, but you don't like – I feel like if you have, we'll do it 2 different camps, right? First, if you're dealing with free agent money, and then if you're also just, your position as far as waivers. If you have the number 1 overall waiver, you use it on Mitchell, correct?
If you're running back needy right now, I don't think you screw around, because I've seen this happen too many times where people wait around and like, oh, I have the number 1. I'm going to wait for the right guy, right? And it just never happens. That guy doesn't come along. This could be that guy. I say you just do it. Don't wait around for a guy that might possibly come up in the future and he might not ever show up. Just do it. Just get him.
As far as free agent money, say you have $100 at your disposal, how much would you actually put towards this guy? It's super early in the year. How strong do you feel?
Okay, again, this is where I try to
assume you need running back help. Like you are very running back needy. We'll say that.
I mean, I'm probably looking at 50% of my money, to be honest, just because if you're running back needy, you just don't know if these situations are going to come up. And I've seen it so many times where people wait around, like you said, like even with number 1 waiver, with your money, you just wait and you wait and you wait. What are you waiting for at the end of the day? This might be that guy. He might be. He has a good chance of any to be the guy that is, that possible number 1 back. I mean, again, we see, maybe get some more solid information on what Raheem Mostert's injury is, right? By the time you actually have to finalize that bid, if we know Mostert's injury is not major, changes up a little bit. If Mostert's going to be out for quite a while, Elijah Mitchell is the guy. You have to go do it. You have to do it. As much as I want Trey Sermon to be the guy, I can't say it's going to be right now. So I would, as long as we know, we have a good idea that Raheem Mostert is injured and significantly, you go after Elijah Mitchell big. Again, if Mostert's a more minor, switch it up. Maybe I'm going like 20% of my budget, 15, 20%, something like that. If it's, a lot less of an injury than we think. So I just don't want to wait around. I don't want to wait around if you need a guy, because that guy might not ever come. So after Mitchell, it becomes, crazy as this sounds, it's like a Mark Ingram.
Oh, I was gonna say, if you didn't say Mark Ingram, I would be kind of surprised.
It has to be, right? 26 carries.
Yeah, he got way too much of he got the lion's share of it. Obviously, they're gonna use that guy. Like that's who they feel the most comfortable with. And Tyrod Taylor, they have kind of a veteran like presence now, which you weren't sure how it was going to work out. But hey, the numbers tell it all. And after week 1, they believe that he's durable enough to take 26 carries. I'm going to just take their word for it. Mm-hmm. So, and once again, running backs are difficult to come by, and there was a lot of disappointments in week 1. So you're going to have to pay to get these kind of guys. And I would definitely rather have Mitchell because I think the upside is there. Yep. But Mark Ingram has been a productive running back for quite a few years. Obviously, this is not as good of an offense as, the Ravens or the Saints, which he was at, and he's definitely not as young as he used to be. But he showed that he can be productive in what they want to do with him. And if you're going to give him 20 carries or more, you're probably starting that guy anyway. Like, he's definitely a flex consideration at the very least.
Yep. So those are by far, if you're looking at like 40, 50% or under, those are by far the best options to pick up. If your league, so if you're looking at like just a little bit above 40%, if you're looking at that and like Latavius Murray's still out there, he's going to still be obviously an interesting ad.
Okay, that's a very, very good point. What is Latavius at the moment?
He's at 43% owned.
Okay, right, so he's a little more than we usually talk about.
And Le'Veon Bell's at 44.
So here's the question then, because I think that's an excellent point. And I have Latavius Murray on a bunch of my teams because I just assumed he was going to be picking up, and I was really hoping that he'd land on the Ravens, which I'm just getting lucky here, but good for me. So if he is available, he is your number one over Mitchell, or is Mitchell over him? Right now, I lean personally, depending on how the Raheem Mostert thing goes, but if he's not like out for the year, right? If he's like, even if he misses a week or two, I think I'm kind of in the Latavius Murray camp. And it's hard because
I'm not sure if I am, because Murray, he got beat out by Tony Jones. He really did. He got beat out by Tony Jones.
Well, he got beat out because he's more expensive.
He was, but he got beat out.
He did, but let's be honest. So Ingram, there's been a lot of backs that later in their career have been good in that Ravens offense. And how many times have we talked about it? Not to use your own words against you, but whoever is running the ball there will be good. And there's just no one left. There's no one left.
And you know what? By the time you actually have to make that waiver wire claim, the Ravens will have played, and maybe we'll get a big answer on if Tyson Williams can play.
That's a good point.
We'll know, like, can that guy actually play? Nobody knows anything about him. We don't know.
No.
So
but
we'll
even if he does, that would be the crazy part. Unless he has a wildly good game,
right?
They're not going to only use one back.
That's true.
Especially with the way that everyone's knees are just snapping in half over in Baltimore.
Yep. And then other running back options, there really isn't many. I would just throw out Kenny Gainwell's name because I thought he was interesting. He was used on the goal line on more than one occasion. He's obviously not Miles Sanders is the guy there. Gainwell's just an interesting name. It depends on what kind of size league you're in and when you would actually play him, but he's just a name to watch out for, right? Because he was just used in an interesting way, I thought. But that's about it I have for running back. There just isn't many others right now that are too worthwhile for me. It's Naheem Hines. If he was out there, he's probably in more leagues, but he's definitely playing. But it's Mitchell, it's Ingram, it's Murray. Those are the guys you go and get at the running back spot. If you're looking at wide receiver, not a lot of guys really, I guess, to me, stood out at that lower number. Like if you're like 40% or under today, there wasn't really a lot of big time performances. I guess Nelson Aguilar is interesting because he is probably the main receiver there with the Patriots. He's at 30% owned. He's an interesting name. Gabriel Davis caught a touchdown for the Bills. Maybe there's some interest there. I don't know if you got Christian Kirk then.
Yeah, Christian Kirk is the one guy that I would say
really that's about it. Yeah, that's really
after watching Arizona and the way they were attacking everyone in the red zone. Hopkins can't do it all. Kirk really stepped up, and I think he's in the perfect position to kind of inherit a bunch of those, looks. And man, if Kyler plays the way he did today for the majority of the year, he will be a very good pickup. And right now he's hardly rostered at all.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He would be probably my number one as far as wide receivers go.
Yep, and he definitely had just a great game there, great output. So maybe we're finally seeing something from him. And then I'll throw even further down Deontay Harris. He had a couple nice catches, only 2, but he got a touchdown, big touchdown. I've liked Deontay Harris for a while now. Just kept waiting for that talent to show up. The he's a good player. He can be an electric player. He's just so small, never really panned out. Maybe this is the start of something. So Deontay Harris, just a name, should be on your radar. And then I'll say even just these rookies, just still the rookie receivers that didn't do much right away, because it just doesn't happen always often right away. Kadarius Toney, Terrace Marshall, Diami Brown, D. Eskridge, all those kind of names. Amon-Ra St. Brown, even, all these guys, just names to just watch out for. Even, Rondale Moore actually probably was the best of the bunch there, and he's 19% owned. So those rookies, don't just, if people are dropping them, if you have bench spots, I'd still, if you have the opportunity, you're not wasting a spot. They still could do something. 1 week's nothing for a rookie. It's just, they're just getting out there. But Rondale Moore is definitely an interesting one at 19% owned. He was involved, and I think that'll probably continue.
Yeah, and another name I will throw out there, and this one's a little deeper, but KJ Hamler, only because I like his speed and I like what he brings. But if Jerry Jeudy is going to be out for 68 weeks, which I highly doubt he's going to come before that, KJ Hamler could be very useful in the short term.
Yep, definitely. All right, tight end wise, is there anybody down that 40 or lower level that we like? A couple names that could.
There's only one that I'm kind of excited about. I'll take a look more, but Cole Kmet, we did talk about him briefly. He's only owned in 22% of leagues, but it does look like he's going to be used quite a bit. And he's a younger guy, so I think that there's a lot of upside for that one if you need a tight end. Because I'm really, at this point, you're either looking for touchdown viability, or you're looking for someone who could potentially get 6 to 7 targets per game, which I think Cole Kmet would fit into that category.
He's one of those that get more targets. And then you got a guy like Jawan Johnson for the Saints, who, if you're just hoping for touchdowns, he only had 3 targets. 2 of them were touchdowns. That's probably not sustainable, but that's something to, just, if you're just looking for that possible wild card lottery ticket right there, he's a name. Jared Cook at 22% owned still. Jared Cook he's going to be in that offense a bit. 5 catches, 56 yards. He had 8 targets. 8 targets at tight end is, if you're just, going through the waiver wire, that's kind of what you're hoping for. So that's definitely another name to watch on. Then Gerald Everett, he only had 2 catches, but just again, watch and see. Maybe he keeps getting red zone looks, but not like a crazy standout, but just a couple names there right now for you. Yeah.
And I have to bring him one more time. We did talk about in the recap, but David Njoku.
Yep.
He had a good game. How do you, and I know that you want to see one more day of it, but is he, these other guys that we're naming aren't anything, they're not crazy. So would you, in some cases, rather take a shot at him and put him on your bench early?
See, I guess it depends on how much, if you have the room. I would, if you're just looking to play a guy, I'd probably rather play like Jared Cook, to be honest, for a week.
Oh yeah.
So,
okay.
All right. Quarterbacks. I guess the quarterback list has to start with Jameis, right? That's definitely the ad for the week. It's going to be Jameis Winston. But again, like I said, it was done in a very interesting way where, as much as it doesn't look like it, with a 38-3 win and Jameis Winston throwing 5 touchdowns, the Saints were very conservative. They truly were. Jameis threw that one bomb, but other than that, it was a very conservative game plan. He ran the ball with Alvin Kamara 20 times, which doesn't happen usually. And Winston was only 14-20. So don't go in expecting 5 touchdowns, but Jameis is still a good pickup. They're playing at Carolina. Carolina, only gave up 14 points against the Jets, but it's still the Jets. And then after that, he plays at New England. So there's 2 matchups on the road, which I don't know how great of matchups they are. But Jameis still has to be the number 1 pickup, right? If you're really QB needy. But Jameis there at Carolina, or would you rather go with like a Ben Roethlisberger playing against the Raiders next week? Or Kirk Cousins playing against the Cardinals. Cardinals played well. We got Kirk Cousins against the Cardinals. It's interesting as well. Carson Wentz playing against the Rams. Probably not that one. Goff against the Packers after what the Packers just did. No, obviously you're going to go Jameis over these guys, but Teddy Bridgewater at the Jaguars.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, right now, any of these guys that we're talking about, mostly I'm doing it on a matchup basis. And after 1 week, you can't really tell. So that is the difficult part of it. Because even right now, if you're just going off numbers, you could throw out Zach Wilson. Because I mean, he, in standard scoring, he scored 22. He looked like crap in the first half, but he really established himself.
Going against New England, I don't know if I feel good about that.
I definitely wouldn't do that one. But it just shows you how difficult it is to tell after 1 week.
It is.
I mean, Tyrod Taylor would be another one. I mean, he played against Jacksonville, but you're kind of like, okay, if you want a safer option.
He's going at Cleveland, though. Don't love that.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. that one was that's a bad pick.
So there's not really a great streaming option. Roethlisberger against the Raiders is probably solid, and Jameis, I guess, at Panthers still is good. I'm not sure how real that is. Like what he did, I'm just not sure yet. I just think people are going to set themselves up for some disappointment. That's all. And he had an interception in that game that got overturned because they called roughing the passer, which was the weakest roughing the passer call I've ever seen in my life. It was not roughing the passer whatsoever. And Jameis threw a pick. And that's when that game still could have been, Packers still could have been in it. I'll say it. Like they could have still kept themselves in that game with that pick. Instead, it turns around and the Saints go get a touchdown. And then it's just out of hand. But I'm just, don't go too crazy yet. I mean, and we've talked up Jameis. Like we like Jameis. He did well for us in the Scott Fish Bowl, but just temper expectations slightly.
Yeah, he's not going to always throw 5 touchdowns.
Right.
So in this one, I think we did throw out quite a few names, and for good reason. There's, once you get down to this point, but I think the 3 main ones would be, obviously Winston, Roethlisberger, and then probably Kirk Cousins is a viable pick when you're going against Arizona, just assuming he's going to have to throw a lot because Arizona will put up numbers. That my thinking at least.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah.
How would you rank those 3? Is it in that order? Winston, Roethlisberger, then Cousins, or
I might actually go Winston, Cousins, Roethlisberger, to be honest. I think I might go with that.
Gotcha.
Yep. All right, defense. We'll see if we got any defensive streamers here, like under 50%. I'll list some of these teams and who they're playing here. Dolphins at home against Buffalo. Don't really want to go against Josh Allen as much as they didn't play well. Don't want to do it. Vikings at Arizona. We said that no, don't want to do that with the way Arizona game. Saints at Carolina, maybe.
Yeah, that would be a good one. I like that.
Packers against the Lions, maybe. Lions did put up 33 points, but it was all garbage points. But then the Packers just gave up a bunch, so maybe not.
Doesn't make you feel great, but that wouldn't be the worst one to have.
Panthers against the Saints, don't love that. Chiefs at Baltimore, don't love that. Bears at home against Cincinnati, that's maybe. They gave up 34 points tonight, but I don't
think there's high upside, but at the same time, I think I would rather have that than one of these other teams that are going against a really explosive offense.
Because then we got Seahawks playing against the Tennessee Titans. Titans weren't great, but you just expect them maybe to do something, right?
Yeah.
Giants playing at Washington. That's an interesting one, even though I don't trust the Giants. But Washington didn't show, Taylor Heineke might be their quarterback. We'll see how that plays out. Cardinals against the Vikings. I think the Vikings can get into a shootout if they have to. Titans against Seattle. Don't want that. Jets against New England. Maybe Jets against New England. But there's not a lot of great streaming options here, is there? Chargers against Cowboys. Cowboys against Chargers. Jaguars against Denver, Eagles against San Francisco, Falcons against Bucks, Raiders against Pittsburgh. Just not options I see here.
No,
there just isn't.
Yeah, usually there's a few, but really New Orleans is the only one that Saints, I really like.
Yeah, Saints against the Panthers is the one I like, and then you probably still go Packers against the Lions. I'm still okay with going against the Lions as much as you can. They scored some points, but I'm still okay with going against them.
Yeah, I am too.
Yep. But all right, there we go. There's week 2 waivers. It's week 2 is not the easiest one to figure out. We only have 1 week. We're just going off 1 week sample size. Next week is where you really start to see some of these players and if they're for real, what's going on, and who's actually going to have a good season here. It's not just a 1 week thing. But all right, that'll do it for today. Talk to you guys next time.